Settle down, brother. This is the Quarter Report, powered by ENC.com. South Africa is a movie. Welcome to the watch party. The last 24 hours in South Africa have been so insane that it's not just one movie. It's like the Marvel Cinematic Universe released every single movie they have ever made on one day. Two big stories today. The first one obviously being all of the different WhatsApp correspondence that Dumisani Khumalo worked through yesterday that he and his investigators had got off of Matlala's cell phones that show the improper and extremely suspicious and probably illegal dealings and relationships between Matlala and Brown Mkhwanazi. We're also going to talk about the passing of Nathi Mthethwa, an ANC superpower who's been on the NEC for a long time, a former minister of police, and most recently the ambassador to France. We're going to talk about specifically the fact that the last we heard about Nathi Mthethwa was just a few weeks ago when Gen Mkhwanazi at the Madlanga Commission said that the worst political interference that he had ever witnessed was by Nathi Mthethwa towards him in a meeting many years ago. We're going to talk about all of the different theories, conspiracy theories, but we're mainly going to focus on the literal evidence, the literal actually what happened that the French authorities have discovered. It is absolutely wild. www.enc.com is the only place to watch the full show. You can also go and click on 3beaniesnetwork.com to get some merchandise, or a mug, or a tote bag, and the rest. And lastly, give us a like and a subscribe. Nathi Mthethwa has it's now been confirmed that he has passed away. He was staying in a hotel in Paris. He fell from the 22nd floor, and his body was found in the inner courtyard of that hotel. Obviously, completely tragic, completely terrible. The passing of people is always tragic and terrible. So, the Paris Public Prosecutor's Office has provided information to South African journalists and authorities like DIRCO, which is super helpful because it helps us shut down one very specific conspiracy theory. Because at the point at which the French are telling us the information, you're going to have to argue that the French are in on this somehow. If you think that this is shady. But let's literally look at what the French prosecutor's office told Raphael Miro for News 24. And I'm literally just going to quote, because we have seen so much speculation and conspiracy and honestly fun fake news imagination nonsense in the last about 16 hours now at the time of taping. So, quote is, staff noticed that in his hotel room located on the 22nd floor, the window's anti-opening safety mechanism had been forced open and scissors were left at the scene. This is a quote from Laura Bacau, who's a prosecutor at the French prosecutor's office. Investigators found no signs of struggle or traces of medication or narcotics. And then it goes on, according to the prosecutor's office, Nathi Mthethwa's wife last saw her husband shortly before 4:30 when he was on his way to a cocktail party. She then received a message from him shortly after 9:30 p.m. in which he apologized and expressed his intention to take his own life. She then reported him missing, and this is how we got to where we got. Raphael Miro got some quotes from the hotel and from a waitress at the hotel. The waitress said, "We've been instructed not to talk to journalists. She knew very little anyway. The hotel hasn't given us much information." And then a security manager said, "The hotel managers are in crisis mode and will not be speaking to journalists. I have nothing further to say." That's from the Hyatt hotel chain. Now, people want to read something into that. I don't. And the simple reason why is in any context, when a tragic and awful thing happens, that is a PR nightmare and marketing disaster, a reputational disaster for any kind of institution, particularly a hotel, they obviously don't tell their staff much. They try to control the flow of information and they try to make sure that as little information gets out of this as possible in self-defense, legal self-defense, PR and reputation management self-defense. The fact that the hotel has virtually told their staff nothing and told the staff not to speak to journalists or whoever's asking questions is not a red flag of anything at all. However, we need to acknowledge something massive that's a part of this story, which is that just a few weeks ago, really early on in the Madlanga Commission, General Madlanga Commission was on the stand and he spoke about Nathi Mthethwa. And he said that when he was acting National Police Commissioner way back, longer than a decade ago, under Jacob Zuma's administration, when Nathi Mthethwa was police minister, Nathi Mthethwa pulled him into a meeting and did what General Mkhwanazi said is the most explicit and severe form of political interference into police affairs that he had ever personally encountered himself. And we're going to play you Gen Mkhwanazi's testimony because it's important for you to hear in his own words what he said about Nathi Mthethwa.
And then I received a phone call from the Minister of Police, Nathi Mthethwa, commissioners. I went to his residence in Waterkloof. And when I arrived there, the Inspector General is sitting on one side of the table, Mr. Mthethwa is sitting on the other side of the table. The minister says to me that I forced the Inspector General of Intelligence to write the letter that says, Mkhwebi is wrong, this matter must go to court. She said, I forced it. Then I told her, I said, no, Minister, Advocate Khateb is an old woman. She's an advocate. How can I point a gun at her and force her to write a letter? Besides, when this letter was written in her office, and she actually is not the author of the letter. The author of the letter is Advocate J. Governor, who is an experienced prosecutor person who's working in that office. She's the one that drafted the letter. Not you, not the Inspector General of Intelligence. The minister didn't want to hear any of that. A simple say, we must stop prosecuting Mdluli, we must stop disciplinary case against Mdluli. Now, if we talk about political interference, that was the worst I've ever experienced.
So Mkhwanazi explicitly said that Nathi Mthethwa intervened to stop an investigation and a disciplinary proceeding. That Nathi Mthethwa intervened to overturn an order or instruction from somebody else in the policing service. That was explicit political interference. And again, this was longer than a decade ago. This was when Nathi Mthethwa was police minister under Jacob Zuma's administration. And a lot of people have been saying, this rot is so terrible right now, and it's worse than when Zuma was here, or it's like worse corruption than apartheid, all this. Like, okay, firstly, if you think that you just don't know history, you're ignorant of it. But secondly, the thing that I wish more people knew is that a lot of these characters who we're hearing about now were all over the Zondo Commission, have been in elite members of government and the ANC for decades. Like, there's a big fight over whether Jacob Zuma got rid of Mkhwanazi, like when he was acting National Police Commissioner, and then eventually didn't get a position in the national policing authorities, or at least the national policing leadership. But what is true is that he was upsetting powerful, compromised people longer than a decade ago during Zuma's administration, to the point where Zuma's choice, Zuma's police minister, was stopping Mkhwanazi from doing his work and politically interfering. This whole expose of the rot within SAPS is not, hey, the last 5 years. It's the last 15, 20, 25, 30 years, involving characters that have been in and around not just SAPS, but the ANC the whole time. And that's where I'm going to stop talking about Nathi Mthethwa, because that is all that we literally know right now. His track record as an ANC elite member and government official, the facts of his death that the French prosecutor's office has been able to discover, and what General Mkhwanazi said about him at the Madlanga Commission. Any speculation beyond that is just speculation on that information and no more than that at this point. Let's talk about Dumisani Khumalo, who, by the way, is not at the Madlanga Commission right now. He was supposed to be testifying today. Apparently, he's too ill to appear on the stand today. Don't leap to crazy conspiracy theories straight away. I know that we are facing such a deluge of crazy information right now that we are all becoming conspiracy theorists. But please, let's just consider that he might have the flu. Like, maybe, let's just keep room open for the fact that maybe no one poisoned his dinner last night, okay? Let's just all be as calm about this as possible until we know more. Evidence and facts and fact-based reliable reporting still matters in South Africa. A lot of people have been saying, like, where is all this WhatsApp stuff coming from? Like, have they hacked phones, third-party investigations? No. Matlala has a bunch of phones. It was all on there. And what we've learned from some of these messages is that Matlala explicitly, actually, in one of the messages, said that he was screenshotting and saving messages to use as evidence and leverage. He was threatening to go to court and go to the media and all this stuff, which in hindsight is insane. Because all of these WhatsApps are incredibly incriminating for Matlala. I was also laughing yesterday when I was thinking about all this stuff, about how Senzo Mchunu and Shadrach Subir probably prepping to come to the Madlanga Commission, not knowing how much evidence on them they would have to deal with. And their game plan to refute all this evidence at the start of the commission has probably fundamentally changed now that all of this evidence has come forward. I'm going to principally work off the screenshots, the WhatsApp themselves, and the Times' legal correspondent, Franny Rabkin, who I thought did a great job of summing up a lot of the text messages that Dumisani Khumalo went through on the stand yesterday. Firstly, that on the 1st and 2nd of January, there was an exchange between Matlala and Brown Mkhwanazi about the disbanding of the political killings task team. You will remember us covering the fact that a ballistics report came out in late December last year, linking a murder that has been connected to some of these crime kingpins with a bunch of other high-profile cases. And then the very next day, a combo of Shadrach Sibiya and Senzo Mkhwanazi moved to disband the political killings task team. We have also spoken at length about the links between Matlala and Katie Molefe with Shadrach Sibiya, Senzo Mkhwanazi, and the rest. So, on the 1st and 2nd of January, there was an exchange between Brown Mkhwanazi, the ANC fixer from the Northwest, and Matlala. On Jan 1, Mkhwanazi said in text, "Good day, I have arranged a meeting for Sibiya and the minister must have a solution." Why is a meeting being arranged by Brown Mkhwanazi? Why is he telling it to Matlala, the crime kingpin alleged? Why is there a meeting between Deputy National Police Commissioner Shadrach Sibiya and Police Minister Senzo Mkhwanazi, where Senzo Mkhwanazi should only be speaking to the National Police Commissioner, Fani Masemola, not his deputy, and Fani Masemola has already resisted Mkhwanazi's wanting to have the political killings task team from KZN disbanded. And then later, Brown Mkhwanazi texted, this is still Jan 1, "The task team that came to your house and harassed you has been dissolved/disbanded, exclamation mark." By the way, Brown Mkhwanazi texts like somebody on BBM in 2012. It is so upsetting to me to read this. He texts like he only has 180 or 140 characters before it becomes another SMS and he has to pay an extra 80 cents. Like, your is YR and for is a for. It is horrific to read. Matlala, I will not defend him on anything except the fact that he uses real sentences when he texts, which is nice, mostly. So Matlala responded the following day saying, "Oh, really? I see you tried calling me last night. When is this happening?" And then Mkhwanazi replied, "They got the letter on Monday. As we speak, they are bringing all the dockets to Sibiya." And then the next message, 10:05 a.m. on the 2nd, is the letter that Senzo Mkhwanazi sent to National Police Commissioner General Fani Masemola on December 31st, 2024, so just a few days before that, instructing that the PKTT be disbanded. This was followed by several messages of screenshots, which Khumalo said contained classified information belonging to the Crime Intelligence Division. Which means that Brown Mkhwanazi, an alleged, regular, everyday South African citizen with no privileged access to key crime intelligence reports and work within SAPS, had that information. He was not supposed to have that information. Most people in SAPS do not have permission to have that information or access to that information. That is only reserved for elite members of the South African Police Service, in elite divisions of the South African Police Service. That's sensitive crime and police intel. Brown Mkhwanazi had it and absolutely should not have had it. And he passed it to Matlala in screenshots. Nochal. It is insane and corroborates all of the stuff that Mkhwanazi and Masemola said about how these kingpins had access to and were privy to information that they were not supposed to have. The fact that Mkhwanazi had the minister's letter on the 2nd of January 2025 is absolutely insane. So that is about as damning as you could ask for in terms of evidence of motivations of who was involved in trying to get rid of the PKTT, why they were trying to stop the PKTT. Matlala was asking about this because he was worried about what the PKTT had on him. And that seems to be why the dockets were sent to Shadrach Sibiya's office so that he could go through them and find out what the PKTT had on Matlala and Matlala's other business connects. Big Five drug cartel, as Khumalo said on Monday. Also in the Big Five, Katie Molefe. So the rest of the messages were largely explicitly showing the extent to which Brown Mkhwanazi essentially used Matlala as a bank. He was like, I need 15K for this weekend to have fun, and I need 10K. Some people on Twitter were saying for Huns, for baddies, but like 10K to like entertain people. I need money for these flights to this ANC event. I need money for this region to do that thing. And Matlala was just pouring out money to solve some desires, some needs that Brown Mkhwanazi had. Even stuff down to 100,000 Rand for the table, 8 flights, 3.75% balance of 111K. Please, again, please. And I will understand this will allow me to handle everything. And the minister, again, and the minister. This is money flowing towards Senzo Mkhwanazi's needs, money flowing towards Brown Mkhwanazi in order to get Brown Mkhwanazi to work for Matlala's interests. But then the next thing that happened was Matlala showing frustration that he kept pouring money into Brown Mkhwanazi's demands, and as far as he was concerned was getting cute promises, big promises back, but quote, very, very little in return. Although he was consistently getting screenshots between Brown Mkhwanazi and Senzo Chief, is how Brown Mkhwanazi, again, Brown Mkhwanazi, just act like a normal human in your phone use. Like Senzo Chief, like why? Like why would you save him as that? Anyway, besides the point. So very tellingly, on the 7th of March, Brown Mkhwanazi told Matlala, quote, I need 10K. Matlala responded by saying, this relationship shouldn't be one-sided, brother. I asked you several favors, which are not even money-related, but none of them have been attended to. The last one, it's even worse because it's even orchestrated from your camp and nothing has been done about it. I've played my part and was even willing to stretch my arm even further, but it's seen none of my efforts are considered. To which Brown Mkhwanazi responded,
true.
What a wild response!
I did not believe that I could feel bad for Matlala, but it does sound like he's in a one-sided relationship. And for Mkhwanazi just to be
toxic. It's toxic.
For Mkhwanazi to just be like, yeah, fair. That is happening. True.
On March 23rd, Matlala sent Brown Mkhwanazi a News 24 report about the cancellation of his contract. And Mkhwanazi said this was done under the minister's instructions, but it's okay. I'll see where to go from here, but I'm not taking this lightly. 3 weeks later, Matlala sent another message just to let you know that my contract was cancelled yesterday, and I see you've been ignoring me and promising me things that never happened. Luckily, took screenshots of every conversation just in case something like this might happen. I'm taking all this to the media and some to court on Friday when I do the interdict, to which Mkhwanazi responded, cancelled? This is the right time to know the truth because you are now going to the minister, right? You will see his affidavit. This is the time every must show his side if the minister or officials are involved. Matlala responds, but you know he is involved. I told you from day one, I'm not waiting for any lies anymore. By Friday, if they don't withdraw, I'll hit back and I'll hit very strong. To which Mkhwanazi said, I don't think so.